on the ladder, cleaning gutters, foot slips, hand catches the gutter, not the rail. But here's what nobody tells you. That wasn't it. I learned that watching a stronger man go down. Would you know if your balance was already failing? Stay. Leaving now costs you knowing where you stand. I'm Atlas Reed. Welcome to Still Standing After 60. Subscribe. You belong here. If you're a man over 60 and you've climbed a ladder sometime in the last year, cleaning gutters, changing a bulb, getting a box down from a shelf, you already belong to the group most likely to end up in an emergency room because of it. Not because ladders are more dangerous than they used to be, because of who's actually climbing them. I watched this happen to a man stronger than almost anyone I know. My own father, decades of real physical strength, reached for a towel rail that wasn't there on a wet bathroom floor and went down. He never fully trusted his own legs again after that. Not because he lost strength, because something else gave out and strength was never built to catch it. Here's the number that stopped me cold researching this. Of every person treated in an emergency room for a ladder-related fall, somewhere between 8 and 9 out of 10 are men. Not because men climb more ladders, because something specific about how men age makes the fall, once it starts, harder to stop. And it's not a rare event happening to a rare man. 1 in 4 adults over 65 reports falling at least once a year. Once it happens the first time, the odds of it happening again roughly double. All of that adds up to an estimated $50 billion a year in medical costs for non-fatal falls alone. And every dollar of it traces back to systems nobody thought to check. Think of balance less like a muscle and more like a three-legged stool. Vision, inner ear, and the sense of where your body is in space. All three holding you up at once. Strength can make you stronger. It doesn't make any of those 3 legs sturdier. And a stool doesn't tip when it loses a leg. It tips when it loses the leg you weren't watching. At 61, I watched a man stronger than most people I've ever met go down reaching for something that wasn't there. The research on it says roughly 8 out of 10 falls happen exactly like that. Inside completely ordinary moments, not extreme ones. Not accidents. Predictable ones. So if his strength didn't protect him, what exactly gave out? It's not the muscle. It's the 3 systems underneath it, and they don't fail the way a muscle does. There's a clinical name for what happens to the inner ear, specifically with age. Presbyostasis. Same root as presbyopia, the reason you started holding menus further away in your 40s. Same idea, different system. The inner ear's balance function drifts the same quiet way your eyes did, except nobody hands you reading glasses for it. And it's not just the inner ear. Muscle mass itself drops 3 to 8% every single decade after you hit your peak, and that rate doesn't hold steady. It picks up speed again after 60. Balance doesn't fail all at once. It fails one system at a time, quietly. Vision, the inner ear, the muscles, until one ordinary afternoon on a ladder asks for more than what's left. Think about brake pads. You don't feel them wearing down while you're driving normally. You feel it the day a stop that used to take 10 feet suddenly takes 20, and by then the wear didn't just start. That's not a scare tactic, that's just the actual timeline nobody hands you at 40. That's the part that should bother you more than the ladder statistic did. This isn't happening after 60. It's been happening since your 40s, quietly, with nothing to tell you it was underway. So how would you actually know this is already happening to you before a ladder finds out for you? Here's the honest answer. At a normal physical, you probably wouldn't. This is what doesn't get checked at a normal physical. Not because it doesn't matter, but because nobody asks. But researchers do check it, and one of their tests takes less time than this sentence. Stand on one leg, eyes open. No hand on a wall, no chair to grab. Time it. 10 seconds is the number tied to meaningfully lower fall risk in the research. Not an Olympic feat. 10 seconds, unsupported. Try it right now if you're somewhere safe to. Most men over 60 who haven't specifically trained for it don't make it as long as they expect to. That single test is one of 7 simple benchmarks researchers use to measure real functional independence. Grip strength, gait speed, how many times you can rise from a chair in 30 seconds, and more, which is exactly the 7-test functional benchmark that Still Standing After 60 walks through. It's linked in the description. If you're watching this on a TV right now, grab your phone and scan the QR code on screen. Because once you know which of the 7 is actually your weak point, you're not guessing anymore. You're training the one system that's actually failing, instead of doing another round of push-ups that was never the problem in the first place. But even a perfect score on all 7 only tells half the story, because sometimes what takes a man down on a ladder isn't his body at all. Look at what's actually on his feet, on his face, and in his medicine cabinet. More than half of in-home falls in one major study happened while someone was wearing slippers, socks, or nothing at all on their feet. Not hiking boots, slippers, multifocal glasses, the kind where the bottom of the lens is a different prescription than the top, built for reading up close, are tied to roughly double the fall risk in older adults because your eyes misjudge exactly how far down the next step actually is. And by 2017, 94% of adults over 65 had been prescribed at least one medication known to raise fall risk, up from just over half of that group back in 1999. Not one man in an unusual situation. Nearly everyone. None of that shows up on a balance test. None of it feels dangerous in the moment. And almost no man connects it to why he went down until afterward, if he connects it at all. So do this right now before you keep watching. Think back the last time you climbed anything. A ladder, a step stool, even your own porch steps. What was on your feet? And check what you're wearing on your face right now. Are those multifocals, the kind where your eyes have to do extra work to judge a step down? If you had to stop and think about either one, that's the answer. Most men have never had to. Here's what all of this adds up to. A ladder fall was never really about the ladder. It's a man whose strength convinced him balance wasn't worth checking. 3 systems declining quietly since his 40s with nothing built into a normal physical to catch it. No test he'd ever taken to know which one was already weakest. And on top of all of it, the shoes, the glasses, the prescription, small, ordinary choices nobody ever connected to the actual risk. Every one of those is checkable. Every one of those is fixable, usually in weeks, not years. The men who end up as a statistic aren't the weak ones. They're the ones who never had a reason to look until a ladder gave them one, on its terms, not theirs. That's not just his own independence on the line. It's every grandchild he still gets to chase across a yard. Every year, his wife doesn't have to become his caretaker early. A man who tests this before a ladder does is still the one his family leans on, not the other way around. Every fact in this video traces back to the same thing. The men most confident in their strength are usually the last ones to check the systems that actually decide whether they stay standing. That's exactly the gap this system was built to close. Still standing after 60. The complete independent system walks you through all 7 functional benchmarks from this video, where you stand on each one right now and exactly what to do about whichever one turns out to be weakest. It's linked in the description below and the QR codes on screen if you're watching on a TV. The research behind every number in this video doesn't wait for a convenient time to be true. It's already true about you right now, whether you check it this week or wait for something else to force the question. If this is the kind of training intelligence you want every week, subscribe. We put out videos weekly, and everyone is built for men serious about staying independent. I'm Atlas Reed. Keep doing the work.